New York City, 1976. Researcher Zecharia Sitchin releases a book that will change how many view ancient history. The 12th Planet introduces his theory that the gods of ancient Sumer, the Anunnaki, were not mythic beings, but extraterrestrials who visited Earth more than 450,000 years ago. After 3 decades studying Sumerian cuneiform tablets, Sitchin claimed these sky gods came from a distant planet called Nibiru, mined Earth for gold to save their world's atmosphere, and genetically engineered humankind to work for them. According to his reading of the tablets, the planet Nibiru moved on a vast elliptical orbit, entering our solar system only once every 3,600 years. Its atmosphere was deteriorating, and the Anunnaki discovered that suspended particles of gold could stabilize it. Earth was rich in gold, so they came here. Sitchin argued they built bases in Mesopotamia, and some writers later proposed Africa and South America as sites, and began mining. But mining was laborious even for them. To ease their burden, Sitchin said, they decided to create a workforce by combining their genes with those of early hominids. After many attempts, they succeeded. The result was the first humans, intelligent enough to follow orders, strong enough to work, yet dependent on their creators. "Let us make man in our image," the old tablets said, echoing what later appeared in the Bible. This idea, that humanity is a product of extraterrestrial engineering, sparked outrage among scholars and fascination among the public. Historians dismissed Sitchin's work as pseudoscience, but writers like Jason Martell and Nick Redfern found his evidence compelling. They argued that the Anunnaki were not mythical spirits, but physical beings who came for a purpose. Martell said they upgraded primitive humans to mine gold, while Redfern described them as ancient visitors who acted as teachers, guiding the rise of civilization. Others, like Linda Moulton Howe, expanded the theory further, suggesting that the Anunnaki's presence wasn't only about gold, but about establishing a planetary base, Earth, as part of a much larger cosmic network. William Henry speculated that Nibiru might not even be a planet, but a stargate, a crossing place between worlds. To trace the story's origin, one must go back to Nineveh in modern Iraq. Along the Tigris River, British archaeologist Austin Henry Layard uncovered the library of Ashurbanipal in 1842. Inside were more than 20,000 clay tablets written in cuneiform, records of myths, laws, and history dating back over 5,000 years. These tablets spoke of gods descending from the heavens, teaching humans agriculture, writing, and law. Among them were the Anunnaki, those who from heaven to earth came. On several tablets, divine beings flank a sacred tree beneath a winged disc. To some scholars, it symbolizes power and divinity. To ancient astronaut theorists, it represents flight. The Anunnaki figures often wear what look like mechanical devices, wristbands, bags, and necklaces with star symbols. Proponents argue these resemble advanced technology. The texts describe them as tall, radiant beings who came for gold, became weary of labor, and then created humans to work in their stead. The Sumerian stories also mention a great flood that almost wiped out life on Earth, an event that closely parallels the biblical tale of Noah. The difference is that in Sumerian accounts, multiple gods debate whether to save humanity, suggesting real beings with conflicting motives, not a single divine will. In 1849, another discovery deepened the mystery. Layard's team unearthed the Enuma Elish, the Babylonian creation epic. It tells how the god Marduk fashioned humans by mixing divine blood with clay. To Sitchin, this was no metaphor. Blood symbolized DNA. Clay symbolized earthly material. The story even mentions repeated failures before success, an ancient description, perhaps, of genetic experimentation. The line between mythology and science suddenly blurred. Across cultures, similar stories appear. In the Quran, language is said to be a gift from God. The Maya Popol Vuh tells that the gods gave humans speech and knowledge. Egyptian texts echo the same theme. To ancient astronaut theorists, this global repetition is not a coincidence. It is memory. The same visitors, under different name, passed knowledge across continents and ages. Before written language, early humans carved symbols into stone. Petroglyphs dating back 10,000 years appear across the world. In the American Southwest, the Hopi and Zuni tribes etched figures with halos or radiant crowns. They called them Kachinas, beings who descended from the sky to teach humanity. Similar carvings exist in Italy's Val Camonica, in Africa, and in Brazil. The shapes are consistent: round heads, beams of light, craft-like objects. Mainstream archaeologists call them symbols. Ancient astronaut researchers see records of actual encounters. In France's Lascaux caves, paintings over 17,000 years old depict animals and a strange hybrid figure with the body of a man and the head of a bird. Scholars say this shows a shaman's vision during trance, but the same bird-headed figure appears later in Egypt as Thoth, the god of wisdom, and in Sumer as the winged beings of the Anunnaki. The similarities across time and regions are notable. Were these simply recurring symbols? Or did early shamans see the same beings that later civilizations called gods? Something extraordinary happened around 40,000 years ago. Archaeological records show a sudden explosion of art, technology, and culture. Humans began creating complex tools, burying their dead with ritual, painting cave walls, and expressing imagination. Scientists call it the Great Leap Forward. Sitchin's followers call it evidence of intervention, the moment when the Anunnaki upgraded human intelligence. Artifacts also fuel the mystery. In Sierra Leone, local legends tell of the Nomoli gods who fell from the sky. Besides their ancient stone statues, villagers found strange blue stones, sky stones, unlike any known mineral. When scientists analyzed them, results conflicted. No lab could determine their origin. Some said they were natural, others synthetic. The locals believed they were fragments of the heavens that fell with the gods. Could they be remnants of something extraterrestrial? Perhaps a piece of a craft or a heat shield? The question remains open. In New Mexico, the Zuni people tell stories of sky beings who came to Earth to teach and guide them. Rock carvings near their pueblo show star shapes and humanoid figures with domed heads and flaring noses. Tribal elders call them keepers of the upper world. To them, these are not myths, but ancestral truths. The Zuni say these sky people still watch over them, a belief echoed in their songs and rituals even today. Across the ocean, in northern Italy's Val Camonica, more than 140,000 petroglyphs decorate the rocks. Among them are figures wearing what look like helmets, surrounded by swirling symbols known as the communion rose. Archaeologists think it represents celestial motion, but some suggest it shows energy or even a spinning craft. Nearby legends tell of Phaethon, a son of the sun god Helios, who descended in a fiery chariot and crashed to Earth. He brought knowledge of metalwork to humanity. Myth or memory, his story resembles many others describing fiery gods descending from the heavens. Farther south, in Mali, the Dogon tribe carries another mystery. Their sky god, Amma, created the first living being, Nomo, who descended to Earth in an arc of fire. The Dogon say these beings taught them astronomy, farming, and language. But their most baffling knowledge concerns the star Sirius. The Dogon claim their teachers came from a companion star to Sirius, which they call Po Tolo. Modern astronomers confirm that such a star exists, Sirius B, a white dwarf invisible to the naked eye. It was only discovered with telescopes in the 19th century, yet the Dogon described it centuries earlier, including its orbit around Sirius A, which science confirmed in the 20th century. How did they know? Ancient astronaut theorists see this as proof of contact. Skeptics say it must have been modern contamination, but the Dogon's accuracy remains astonishing. The same pattern repeats worldwide. The Sumerians describe the Anunnaki, who came from the heavens. The Babylonians speak of gods shaping humans from blood and clay. The Egyptians tell of beings who descended from the stars. The Dogon honor visitors from Sirius. The Hopi and Zuni remember sky people who taught them to live. Whether literal or symbolic, the message is constant. Knowledge came from above. So what if the Anunnaki were real? If Sitchin was right, their purpose was survival. They came to Earth for gold, engineered humans to mine it, and in the process gave birth to civilization. Over time, they became our teachers, our rulers, our gods. When disaster struck, perhaps the Great Flood, they saved a remnant of humanity and left. Their departure became the foundation of countless myths about gods ascending back to the heavens. And if Sitchin was wrong, then his story still tells us something important about human imagination. It shows our deep need to understand our sudden rise from primitive beings to creators of cities and art. The parallels among ancient cultures remind us how connected early humanity was in its dreams of the stars. Whether the Anunnaki were real or symbolic, their story speaks to our endless curiosity, our hunger to know where we come from. The clay tablets of Nineveh, the petroglyphs of Camonica, the Zuni carvings, the Dogon's cosmic knowledge. All of it may be fragments of a forgotten narrative. Maybe our ancestors truly witnessed beings from beyond the sky. Or maybe they looked up at the same stars we see and imagined divine teachers in the heavens. Either way, the question remains alive. Are we alone, or are we the descendants of visitors who came long ago? 4,000 years ago, Sumerian scribes wrote of those who came from heaven to earth. Today, we search the cosmos for life beyond our world. The question that stirred ancient minds still drives us. Perhaps the Anunnaki never existed, or perhaps somewhere in the deep night sky, the world they called Nibiru still circles the sun, waiting for its long orbit to bring it near once more.